Welcome to the Get Out In It podcast, keeping our mental and physical well-being balanced by heading out into nature and doing stuff.
The activity isn't important. Walk, run, hike, bike, whatever it is, just find something you enjoy and get out in it. The point of this podcast is to show how ordinary people can achieve extraordinary levels of health and fitness.
Out here, we'll share informal, inclusive advice for anyone trying to improve their mental and physical well-being, based on our own experiences and professional knowledge from our special guests.
So let's lace up and get out in it.
And here we are. Welcome to episode 26, and what a week it has been. How are you, Maria Herring?
I'm fine, thanks, James Bale.
None of that
Friday.
Miming you were doing was matching up with what I was saying.
No, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. I'm a lip sync fucking genius. It was amazing.
it was like bad dubbing.
Yes, I'm very well. It's Friday. It's the last day of term. So I've got a 2-week half-term holiday coming up. So that's pretty cool. Quite excited about that. And even though it's been pissing it down, like epic biblical inundation style raining for the last 2 days, I'm in fairly high spirits.
It's been doing that here as well. I can tell you that. It's been gargantuan with the rain. It's been quite depressing. But despite the weather, what have you done this week to get out in it?
Got out in it. Well, this week, to get out in it, I haven't done an awful lot because I've still been in recovery, and I did rabbit ears for that because I don't feel like I need to be in recovery anymore. I feel full of energy. So today I did 2 things to get out in it. This morning, I did my normal Friday morning sports in the park group with my ladies.
With your team of legends.
With my team of legends. And it was really, really, really good fun. And even though it's absolutely pissing it down, they all came out for some sports in the park fun. And it was brilliant. We had a good old laugh. And then after that, I did a run.
Awesome.
So that was cool. Only
How
a little
did that
one.
run go? How did that run go? 5.98k, no?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's really annoying that circuit isn't exactly 6k. And
your
and
speed was nice. You seemed to be running quite comfortably at quite a consistent pace.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. It was the because I ran on Monday as well with you when you were here that last day, and it was the same circuit but reversed.
Oh, you did it in reverse.
Yeah, I did it in reverse. And I was quite lucky with the weather because it was pissing down for sports in the park. And then I came home and I was like, oh, I don't want to run in the rain. And then I procrastinated and faffed about for a bit. And then I was like, fuck it, just go out. And then I went out the front door and it stopped raining and the sun shone for half an hour while I was running. And then it started raining again as soon as I came in. And I was like, fucking nailed my timing.
Well, there you go. Absolutely smoked it. Now, yeah, as you were saying, you've been recovering post-ultra because despite not actually finishing the race and the distance, you did do a huge amount of running that day and a huge amount of effort into the ultra distance. So your recovery has been, much like it should be following an ultra marathon. So as we get to the end of this week, we can start looking at bringing in some more regular planned running next week. But, still nothing too dramatic yet. Not doing any huge interval work, but just easing you back into a bit of more consistent training.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my Sunday long run because I'm a bit bored of not doing it now.
Yeah.
I'm ready to do some running again. And it's been really, I've been flailing, James, without a fucking timetable. No, what is it that you give me?
Well, a schedule, training
schedule.
plan.
Yeah, that's the badger. Schedule, as British people say. Schedule. Yeah, I've been flailing without one. Like my days have been so unstructured. It's been like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? And then go out and teach and then come back and go, oh my God, what am I doing?
You've been being healthy, you've been recovering, and you've been moving when you need to move. You've been doing hiking, you've been doing the odd run, you've been doing sports in the park. So, it's all good stuff to help that accumulated fatigue ease out of your body, all that inflammation disappear, and let yourself get back to normal before we really start moving into what is going to be a winter sort of maintenance phase.
Nice. Well, that was me. It's been minimal. minimalist. How about you? What have you done this week to get out in it, Mr. Bouncing back like a motherfucker, James Bale?
Well, this week, I mean, I'm going to include last weekend in this week because it was after we'd recorded. I
Mhm.
went and ran 21 kilometers
Did.
on last Saturday, and
Yeah.
it was amazing. It was a trail run in France, and my hip was there for me. There was an element of discomfort, but it I felt fantastic. It was a slowish run, but at was no point was I walking. I was running like a runner should, and I
Yay.
felt like a normal runner. And so 21K run on the Saturday, a 17-kilometer hike on the Sunday, um, in a national park somewhere
Totally forgot
south
to
of
mention that.
Lyon, which was incredible. The views
It
were
was
amazing.
amazing. It was
It was such a
gorgeous.
gorgeous day.
Yeah.
And then
Bit chilly at
five,
the beginning though, wasn't it?
it was a little bit, yeah. And
Yeah.
then a 5.98K run on the Monday, a
hmm
fairly good pace, pushed by
hmm
you, I must say. You pushed me a bit that day. I was
I
feeling,
know, but the thing is, it'd been so long since I'd done a little run and I was gagging for it by
yeah,
Monday. I
yeah, no,
really was. And I was
I
having
loved
so
it.
much fun.
I kept feeling like you were trying to race me. And then I'd put a little spurt in to try and drop you. And then my body would be like, no, you shouldn't be doing this right now. So I eased off again. And since then, I haven't run since Monday. And it is Friday now because I traveled all day Tuesday. I was wiped Wednesday. I had
Mhm.
a physio appointment yesterday with Daisy, and she did some dry needling in my leg and told me to give it a rest for a day or so just to let that dry needling ease off.
What does dry needling feel like? Is
It
it fun?
feels like somebody's sticking really sharp needles into your muscle,
But is
which
it
is
fun?
um I don't know whether it's fun, it's bearable, and apparently science dictates it does good things, according to Daisy, because they put the needle into the muscle where there is a tight element will grab onto the needle. They leave the needle in for a few minutes, and then when they
Mhm.
pull it out, the muscle releases a little bit.
Huh.
So she says, and
You know
it was
who
fine.
else? You know who else swears by dry needling?
No,
I feel like you were trying to really quickly think of a really clever, really clever answer by your facial expression, which nobody else can see, but you didn't come up with one, and then you finished lamely with a no.
yes.
Um, our great mates, great friends of the pod, and people I love to stalk on the internet, Mary and Ben Bridges,
Oh, there you go.
swear
This
by
is
it.
this was my first experience of dry needling in it. Yeah, it was felt fine. I don't know whether it's done anything, but because I
Does it
said I
not
was,
feel? Does it not feel different today?
I think I'll notice the difference when I run because I said to
Ah,
Daisy,
okay.
the hip pain was declined a lot, but I'm still getting a referral down into my quad, and that's where she did the dry needling down into the
Ah,
quad to
okay.
get that muscle to sort its life out a bit. Because yeah, I did a fair amount of damage not only to the hip but to the whole hip flexor region, which includes the quad from knee up to hip flexor. So
Mm.
now the hip's better. But the body always prioritizes pain. Now the hip is getting better. The other bits are like, we're still here. So, and then I was going to run today, but things got ahead of me with work today and admin and trying to do a load of stuff. So I'm going to do some running over the weekend and then
Nice.
launch back into a new phase next week. That's my plan. But
Cool.
all is going well. I feel positive and like everything's moving in the right direction.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm happy for you.
Oh, so am I. Fucking hell, it's been a journey. I've never had an injury like this before. But with all that said, all that
Mhm.
getting out and it said, we've got a really interesting guest this week, haven't we?
Oh, we have actually. I'm fascinated. I can't wait to hear everything she has to say.
Liable to come out with any manner of stuff. Who knows what's going to come out of this one? But shall we get our hiking shoes on and go and say hello to our interviewee this week?
Let's get the fuck out in it.
Getting into it. So this week, I am lucky enough to be joined by my favorite coachee, Maria Herring. Maria has recently been training for an 80-kilometer ultra marathon, but as a lot of you know, things on the day didn't go to plan. So we thought it would be a good idea to have a public coaches debrief to talk about what happened on the day, what we plan to do going forward, and how we as a team will plan the next year ahead following a setback. We thought this would be useful to any of you out there who may have suffered a setback at any point in your training or your exercise or your routine, just to think about how to process that and the route forward past it. So thanks for joining me, Maria. How's things?
You're very, very welcome. Glad to be here. Happy to be sitting on this side of the mic. It's an honor and a pleasure. I feel
So,
like a right twat.
I mean, me and you were talking about what we were going to do this week. We've got a few guests lined up for the next few weeks, but we decided that, we've gone into a little bit very fresh sort of immediacy as to what happened on your race day, but we haven't really talked about how, as an athlete, you process something when it doesn't quite go to plan, and how you can put a strategy in place in order to deal with that in the short term and the long term, and then come back and just sort of consign that event to history with the lessons learned associated to it. So we thought we'd do that. Now, as the guest this week, I meant to ask you, what have you done this week to get out in it? But I've already done that.
We've already done that. We already discussed that. But yeah, yoga, sports in the park, couple of runs, fun.
So what are we now? It's nigh on 2 weeks since the race came and went.
Exactly 2 weeks tomorrow.
2 weeks tomorrow. 2 weeks tomorrow that you climbed that final bank with that rope and were told several times that you weren't going to be able to continue, and then finally believed one of us.
I did not want to believe anyone when they said that I couldn't go on. I was like, it's all right. All I need is a little glass of Coke. See you later. And they were like, no, 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 no. You have to stop. And the guy was like, it's finished for you. And I was like, oh. I was so sad.
You did your high pitch thing again. Your
I did my
microphone
high
didn't
pitch
pick
thing.
that up. Yeah.
Didn't pick it up. Yeah.
Do it again.
Basically.
But
Oh my God. But much more high pitched and
yes.
a lot more tearful.
Yes.
It was the end of the world as we know it.
Yeah. And that's what it feels like in that moment, doesn't it? Because we've all been there. Those of us that race and those of us that take part in organized events that we have to train for, be they running, hiking, walking, cycling, triathlons, whatever. We've all had moments where things haven't gone to plan and we felt like the world has been collapsing in. Now, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Tim Ford, who I host another podcast with.
Ah, Tim Ford.
The day that you DNF'd, whilst you were in the shower back
crying
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But and we were
weekly banging the shower walls, going, "Why, God, why?" And very over dramatic in a very melodramatic way. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It was a bit, but we were discussing. He was asking how things were going, how you were, and I said, "Well, there was a DNF," and he was like, "Oh," and we were saying that the worst. We both DNF'd enough times. The worst bit of a DNF is not. It's not the moment itself. It's that hour between when you've DNF'd and trying to get the fuck away from the race and get, you know what I mean? And just sort of disassociate yourself with what's still carrying on. And then eventually, after about an hour or so, you manage to get back to your hotel, your Airbnb, your house or whatever, and you can have a shower, you can get changed, and you feel kind of cleansed of that experience. But that hour between DNFing and getting back is horrible.
Yeah, it was a bit rubbish. And as we were driving away from, because I was 56 kilometers away from, actually, no, because it was a big circuit. So I was kind of looping back towards I was already on my way back towards the finish, because it's a big old loop for the UTBV. And, as I've stated many times over the past fortnight, I only had 24 kilometers left. I could have finished it in the 5 hours, motherfuckers. But it was quite heartbreaking seeing the little red flags as we were driving away from where we were, seeing all the little red flags that showed where the course continued, and seeing the odd runner in the distance. And I was like, I should be there. I should be there with that dude running up that fucking hill, not in this white Tesla. Oh my God, my life's rubbish.
Talking of Teslas, the biggest issue was you fucked up my plans, because I was planning to leave you at the last checkpoint, go to the lake, plug my car in and have enough battery to get us where we needed to go. And suddenly I was in conserve mode and having to drive. Anyway, but that's an aside. Obviously you were my priority. I I think that your emotions were quite raw
Mm,
for the rest of that day
mm.
and going into the next day. You picked up fairly quickly after the next day, I'd say. But how do you feel now about that experience compared to how you felt then?
Well, funnily enough, on my run today, I listened to the podcast that we did with Zoe a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm now a big fan of listening to podcasts while I run instead of music. And
Listen to your own voice while you run.
no, I wanted to listen to Zoe because I know she was talking about her DNF at the Ironman, and I thought that would be a really, really good one for me to listen to. Because the first last week, um, me being me, I obviously told all of my students and all of my friends and literally everybody within, ear striking distance that I was doing this fucking 80K ultra. And I was so like convinced that I'd do it. Um, so yeah, I was just telling everybody. And so that first week back, to my students, to sports in the park, to everyone was like, "Oh, how did it go? How did it go?" That first week was brutal. Having to go like, I didn't finish,
And
and
you
then be
get fed
brave
up
and
with telling the
smile.
same story, don't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like obviously my super close friends and family, they all knew on the day. And they were super sweet and, full of pride anyway, and saying really, really lovely things. And that was really, really lovely. I
Shout
think.
out to Max for the best comment of the WhatsApp group that day. So yeah,
So
they were all amazing.
inappropriate. So inappropriate because your dad was in the group. No, not your dad. My dad was in the group. Your mum was in the group. And her comment was wildly inappropriate for that audience. It was hilarious. Yeah. So thanks, Max. uh, so that helped with the kind of initial raw pain of not completing the course. But then kind of funnily enough, it was brutal having to repeat the same story and tell people I didn't finish. No, I didn't finish. No, I didn't finish, like multiple times during that week. But then kind of by the end of it, like you said, because you're bored of telling that same old story, it's like it's almost cathartic, isn't it? Like you get so bored that it kind of cleanses you of the
You stop giving a shit about that
yeah.
story. It's kind of like it's akin in my mind. This is might be wildly off topic. It's akin to when you visit people and they constantly ask you about your veganism. And after so many questions about it, you stop giving a shit. You're just like, fuck off. Fuck off. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. Not interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think because last year I did finish, but I was in a lot of pain for a long time afterwards. Physically, I was in so much pain for over a week after last year's ultra. Um, it was a 55er. And physically, that took me quite a long time to recover from that because even just walking around my village and stuff was like, fucking hell, it really was hurting my quads and glutes and shit. But this year, when I went to yoga on the Tuesday, so what, 2 days after, it was fine. Like and by Wednesday, my DOMs had completely cleared up, and I was like, huh, all right, nice. And I think because what I was dreading on the Sunday when I woke up, I did have wicked DOMs on the Sunday, Natch. What I was dreading was being in pain for a week but not having the fucking achievement to go with it. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, it's going to be a shit week. I'm going to be in pain, but without the fucking bragging rights. Ah, what an ass. But yeah, the DOMs went really quickly. And so I was like, oh, okay, fine. And yeah, it was quite easy to kind of not brush it under the carpet because I am still a little bit annoyed that I couldn't finish because I feel like because I think this is a thing. And funnily enough, when I was listening to Zoe's interview earlier on today when I was doing my run, she said a similar thing. It was frustrating for me because I know I could have finished. There was 5 hours left. and only 24K. And I could have done it if not for that
Yes,
very
and
insistent
the
man at the aid
majority
station.
of the elevation was complete.
I'd
It
done it. Yeah,
was
I'd done the worst part. Yeah.
there was a couple more uphills, then it was aggregate downhill
Mm.
to get to that finish line. Regarding your DOMs and the fact that you recover, physical recovery has been a lot quicker than the previous years. I mean, that is an indication that you're a huge amount fitter and a huge amount more prepared and a huge amount stronger and more robust than you were in those first couple of years, basically. I mean, if you think about it, you've been running for, call it 3 years now?
Yeah, 2.5. Yeah.
2.5 years, yeah. So you've done 3 UTBVs,
Mm-hmm.
first one, second one, third one. And the first one you did half a year's training for, hence the 2.5. The second one you did a year's training for, so you've done a year and a half's training, and now you've done 2.5 years training. So,
Yeah.
it's that as a percentage of itself is a huge amount more that you've put into this race than you'd put into the other races.
Mm-hmm.
You're also taking more seriously your strength and conditioning, your recovery, your yoga, how to go about these things. So that recovery was always going to be faster.
Mm.
And it goes to show that if you went and did the 56 now, that would be an entirely different prospect.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why in that first week after the UTBV, it was there were some nice surprises that were unexpected. Because the last couple of years after the first one and the second one, there were surprises, but they weren't necessarily very nice. After the first UTBV, which was in the October, and I'd only started training for it in the July, I wasn't anticipating the massive come down after such an event because obviously I'd never done anything like that before, so I wouldn't know what to expect. But it was like it was like really acute depression for a good couple of weeks. So I had lingering DOMs for a couple of weeks, but I also had this weird blues, which until you explained what it was, I was like, I don't understand why. Because like I'd go out teaching or whatever and just be doing like normal everyday things and then just be like, I want to cry. I wouldn't cry because I was in the middle of teaching and that would be weird for my students. But it was a really overpowering sensation of just wanting to kind of cry and sit on the sofa and hide under a blanket. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with my brain? And then you were like, oh yeah, this happens sometimes. And I was like, okay.
Especially that first year. I mean, you'd started running in July, you did an ultra marathon in October.
Yeah.
You had done some training, quite a considerable amount of training in those few months, but you had also pushed your body and your mind much further than it was prepared to go. Realistically, no one should ever really do that. So the dip, the other side of that, was always going to be quite cavernous. And it was the second year you did the race, you had that blues, but for a much shorter period of time.
Much shorter.
This time around, despite the DNF, you were in a wholly positive mood from pretty much day 2 after the race. And I
Yeah, it
think
was
that
really
negative mood was
strange.
only a little bit of a knock on from the DNF. You didn't really have any of the post race blues because of the energy use.
No, not at all. Not at all. It was really nice to see. I was quite pleased with that. It was almost proud actually at how quickly my mind and body bounced back after the effort. And also the fact that I didn't kind of give in. I did allow myself to be wholly miserable for the rest of that Saturday. But then I knew by the Sunday and the Monday it was like, yeah, it's fine. Because like the interesting thing was the idea of a DNF was like this big thing, like a big scary monster that I didn't want to face down or anything like that. Like the idea of DNFing has always been like, oh, I don't want to do it. I don't want to DNF next to my name. But then like once it happens and you realize that nothing has changed, the world is still the same, nobody really cares, it's fine. It's not that big a deal. Like obviously I can imagine for like pros and stuff it would suck, but for regular normal people like me who just want to do a thing and you don't manage to do that thing that day, it's not that big a deal.
Exactly that, but also taking a step back from that event itself. I think contextualizing it as part of the journey and not the end of the journey in itself. You know, that DNF wasn't the end. You wasn't like, well, this was the only thing I was trying to achieve. I have failed, and that's it for me now.
Yeah.
You know, there are many more links in the chain to come, which form part of a plan for a lifetime of health and fitness.
Mm, yeah.
And you know, this was simply almost an event to motivate that health and fitness rather than the end game in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because there were a couple of things that when I was thinking about it during that first week, um, I was quite pleased with how I didn't freak out in the first 2 hours in the pitch black in the pine forests. And I think that was because I did that night race a few weeks beforehand at the beginning of September to kind of, you know, prime my mind and brain with what it's like to run through forests at nighttime.
Hmm.
And even though in that first 2 hours before that first aid station, I did go off course. Ah, thank fuck I put the GPX file in my watch because I'd
Yes,
be dead in a forest right now.
you probably would. Yeah.
I'd be dead in a forest right now if I hadn't put the GPX thingy in my watch. Anyway,
Whose idea was
but
that?
I don't know. It's probably mine because it was such a good one. So I think it was probably mine. Yeah. So even though I'd gone off course in that first 2 hours, in the first 2 dark hours between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m., gone off course, lost in the pine forests, in the deepest, darkest depths of the Beaujolais. But thanks to my watch, I got back out, back en route, and that was cool. Um, and also some of the big hills that we'd seen in the previous years, the one that we affectionately referred to as the wall. I remember in the first year, you and I were climbing that wall, and it goes up for about, I don't know, 50 billion kilometers or maybe three, something like that. And there was a guy just ahead of us who was on his own. And I remember saying to you, oh, I could never do this on my own. Because like that guy was suffering. He was struggling up that wall. And I said to you, I couldn't do it on my own. And I loved the fact that I had someone there to go, you know, come on, get a move on, and like to kind of not cheerlead, but you know, kind of just keep you going, take your mind off the fact that you're
And
doing something
share the
really.
pain a little bit, share the
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah,
It always
exactly.
takes it off a little bit if you can just comment to somebody else that's also going through the same thing as you are.
Yeah. So one of the things I was really worried about doing this on my own was the fact that I thought I would freak myself out on those tough climbs and pull the plug myself and just go, I can't do it. It's too freaky. Because there were like the wall, actually, I said to you after the wall, because it was a different course. And so we kind of went away from the 55K course that we'd done the last 2 years, and we went into some extraordinary parts of the Beaujolais. I mean, it was fucking gorgeous.
It really was, yeah.
It was breathtaking. But some of the climbs were absolute dicks. Like there was one that was non-stop 8K, and there were points where we've had a really dry, super dry summer. So there were some parts, and the day of the race was like weirdly hot. It's never been that hot before. It's always been long sleeve weather. But on the Saturday, I was wearing like a sleeveless vest type thing because it's fucking boiling. Anyway, so I was climbing up this beast of a hill, which was like non-stop 8Ks, solid fucking climb. And it got quite steep at one point, and the ground was really kind of silty but dry, powdery, soft mud stuff. All of the rocks were coming out. None of the floor was solid. And so like I'd be sticking my poles in to give myself a bit of traction. And then I just watch all of this dusty, pebbly floor stuff just fall away. And then I'd like shift my feet to climb up, and the same thing would happen. And at one point, I was just on my toes, sliding back down the fucking hill, shitting my pants. And I made the mistake of looking backwards and down
No way.
Oh, that was bad. So there was that moment where I was about to pull the plug myself because I was starting to really, really, really freak out. Um, but no, I carried on, and so that was cool. I was really pleased during that entire race. I didn't freak myself out and pull the plug. I was quite pleased because I genuinely thought that that was something that would happen.
Yeah. So you've got to this point now where I can't remember what we were talking about. You just told such a long story. I've
It
forgotten what we were
was a
talking
really
about.
long story.
Yeah. What was the point of that?
Fuck knows.
Okay. Nice.
But it was super interesting. You're welcome, listeners. I don't know, talking about how I've evolved over the last 2 years or how I've
Yeah, I mean
changed
the
or
race
I
the
don't
race was
know.
long and the race was hard.
Yes.
Um, you'd got into you'd gone off course in that first bit.
Mm.
Um, and then obviously you didn't make the cutoff by 7 minutes. Where is your motivation at now? How are you feeling now? Obviously, we talked about how the bounce back has been quite dramatic. You
Mhm.
feel like you've processed the race a little bit
Yeah.
in the kind of cathartic way by talking about it with people. Where is your motivation right now?
Well, I'm excited to be running again. I'm excited to get my training schedule for next week because, like in last week, I don't think I could have done very much at all. Even though the DOMs had gone and stuff, I was still after teaching and stuff, normal day of work, I was still quite fatigued by the end of the day.
Yeah,
So I did notice that. This week I've been like really desperate to do some stuff and go out running and see the
but
trees and all
but
that
you've been
jazz.
holding back a little bit because I mean, recovery from an ultramarathon. It's 2 weeks tomorrow. Recovery from an ultramarathon can take up to 3 weeks. It's a huge thing to put the body through. So even when you
Yeah.
start to feel like you want to be out, you want to be doing things, you got to rein yourself in a little bit and keep moving, keep going through the motions, but not pushing yourself too hard.
Yeah, so I was bearing that in mind all of this week. And just in my day-to-day job and all that kind of stuff, I am quite active. I cycle to work and I've got my sports in the park group and my hiking group and stuff. So I am even without a training schedule, I'm not super sedentary, which is quite lucky. But yeah, I am excited for my Sunday long run, which will be a kind of run hike mélange, I think.
Melange.
A mélange of a run and hike, a rike, if you will. That's a rubbish portmanteau word. Anyway, but I am excited to plan events for next year. This is something that has kept my optimism high, I think, is thinking about events for next year instead of wallowing on um the UTBV. I've been thinking about races for next year and doing two
Yeah.
ultras next year instead of just one ultra.
And this is something that we did. We started planning that race calendar for next year. When was it? Where were we when we started doing that?
It was on Sunday,
So we were still in the village of no
Beaujolais.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the Beaujolais.
So you were bouncing off the disappointment of the Saturday. You'd had a good night's sleep. You'd woken up on the Sunday. I think I'd gone for a run because I'd fancied a run. I'd gone and
Mm.
done 12K or so, and I finished my run. Um,
Your massive 12K, yeah? Well done.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think we sat down, didn't we? And we went through how we were going to approach next year. Now, this is something we'll talk about later on, but also it's for the benefit of the listeners. When you've had a setback and you've had something that in your racing life hasn't gone to plan, your training life hasn't gone to plan, it's too easy to focus on that as an entity and worry
Mm,
about that and think about that and what you could have done, what you couldn't have done, and get stuck in this kind of, oh, well, can't believe that happened. And if I'd done this, it might have been different. If I'd done that,
mm,
it might have been different because you can't change that.
no.
You can learn from it, and those learnings will always be there, but you can't change it. There's no point in replaying it in your mind over and over again and
Yeah.
kicking yourself when you're down. But the one very important thing you can do is think about what you're going to do next and be realistic about those next goals. Don't be like, fuck it, I'm going to go and find another ultra marathon to run tomorrow, and I'm going to finish it. You know, put yourself a plan in place of things that you want to work towards going forward, because that can switch that mindset from quite a negative one, replaying what's happened, to a more positive one where you're thinking about what is going to happen. You're
Mm.
visualizing events to happen in the future. And that can give you the motivation then to pick yourself up, recover properly, dust yourself off, and go for a fucking run.
Exactly, yeah. Because I mean, I was even thinking about trying to find a race nearby, just a short one, obviously not an ultra, um, to finish the year with. So something like end of November or beginning of December or something. I was having a look to see if there are any races around here to just finish on a non-DNF. So do a short race like a 10K or half marathon or something. Just to do and finish and be like, there you go, I can finish stuff. It's fine. But but I don't think I don't think I need to do that. Like that need to
No.
prove to myself that I can finish a race has gone now, after this second week of just
Yeah, you did launch into that quite quickly. That sort of I need to find a race to do in the next
yeah.
few months. And I was a bit hesitant on that because, I don't know, you've been running for 2.5 years. You've been doing events for 2.5 years. You've done probably 10 to 15 different independent races. Out of that 10 to 15, you've had one DNF. You can't let that DNF and that one race define everything,
Yeah.
because it's not like you the 14 races you have finished and completed should be the things that prove to you can finish a race, because they are the overwhelming volume of your work.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was like, oh, I'm going to find a race near me and just end the year on a non DNF or a finish even would probably be the the accurate word for that. I was still in that kind of, oh, I could have finished it if they let me go, and oh, if only I hadn't done those wrong turns, I would have made that cut off, and oh,
There was
I
a lot
can't
of that
believe
for a few days. I
there was
remember
a
that.
lot, yeah. And I was kicking myself as well because I was like, for fuck's sake, it's my first ever solo thing. I've done solo races on my own, but not ultras.
Mm.
And I'd worked so hard on my kind of like obviously my training, but I'd also worked quite hard on my mental thing, getting my mind ready to do this super long distance on my own. And I felt so ready for that fucking race. And I was just really cross with myself that the one race that I DNF'd on was the ultra I was doing solo. And after all of the effort mentally and physically I'd put into getting myself to that start line, which was terrifying. I was a little bit scared at that start line. It was a good job that they've got loads of toilets there because I had a massive shit because I was so scared. Like I
The
actually had the shits. So that's why my brain was like, just find another race nearby and do that and finish the year on a high. But like after this week, it's like, it's fine. It's
Yeah,
not, you don't need to. You're all
it may
right.
have been the first ultra you were running without company, but all those other ultras that you've done, you've also done on your own. No one else ran them for you. I may have been
Yeah.
there. I may have been there as part of the experience, but your body got you round. So don't tie your sense of worth to whether or not you did that one on your own. There'll be other races you'll have to do on your own in the future, because I am a man
Yeah.
of constant injury.
Yes.
So, but let's not wish them along too quickly.
No, 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 no. So yeah, so this week has been really, really cool actually. I've been super chill, and there was a couple of women who hadn't been at my sports in the park session last week who were there this week, and they didn't know about my great DNF story. So Janine came running up to me. She's like, "Oh, Mia, how did it go? How did it go? I've been thinking of you." And I was like, "Oh, Janine," and she went, "Oh no." I was like, yeah, I didn't finish. And she was like, oh, and I was like, it's all right. It's all right. So I was chatting to her and Alexandra about it, and it was like, it was fine. It was, yeah, it was interesting this morning to kind of repeat that story again, and not be like a little bit embarrassed or a little bit annoyed or a little bit sad about that. It was like, yeah, it's just a thing that happened, but that was a fortnight ago, and the world has turned a lot since then, so it's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of not wanting to hurry into a race to prove yourself you're going to do it, what do
Mm.
you think are the most important factors when it comes to planning a race calendar for next year?
Um, Probably where the races are, because it would be nice to do some races in some fun places. I think it would be nice to for me, in the winter and the early spring, there's really, really nice races near where I am. And I think it will be really, really nice to start my event calendar with close events near to me that I know I can do, that I've done before, that I'm familiar with, so that my first race back, if you like, isn't something I don't know and isn't something, I mean, because I think with the DNF and the long course and the massive hills and everything, I think I did face a lot of demons on that Saturday, and that was quite cool. But I don't think doing a race on a course I don't know in a place I don't know would be a, the best idea for me, knowing my personality. So yeah, starting my race calendar with a home race that I've done before, that I know I can do, I think that would be the best thing for me.
Yes, that sounds like it sounds like a plan. I mean, are there any, from your perspective, are there any things that you want to work on or anything you want to know while we start to plan, races that you want to look to for next year?
That's a really good question, actually, because there were two things that I learned quite quickly in the UTBV. Um, I am shit at going quickly down big, big hills, because the problem is when you've got a really, really big steep climb up, there will always be a corresponding really, really big steep climb down. And I don't have the confidence to mountain goat my way down those. Like I think the guy who won the UTBV this year did it in like 8 hours, the bastard. Do you know what I mean? So he must have just leapt down those motherfuckers. I don't know how he did that. Obviously, confidence and skill. So I learned that quite quick, because there were some of those downhills that were taking me longer than the uphills, which was, I was bleeding time on those. So I do need to work on that, getting confidence and learning techniques for going down steep motherfucking hills. Also speed, because even though there's not a lot of flats in the UTBV, there were quite a few places where the uphill or the downhill was, comparatively super flat, and I could have, fucking sprinted those motherfuckers, but I need to work on my speed, I think, as well, to make up time on those in between parts.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the downhills, that is you're gonna make up a huge amount of time on those.
Mm,
And we've spoken to various people that we know in the industry in the corresponding weeks since that DNF, and from knowledge that I've got previously as well, downhill is all about practice, technique, and confidence.
yeah,
You want to keep your center of mass, your center of gravity under yourself. You want to shorten your strides. You want to try and land on your forefoot if you can, to give yourself a little bit more control, and you want to be doing very fast, almost sidesteppy motions.
yeah.
Like, as a good friend of mine, David Tilbury Davis, said, like
DTD,
like you're
friend of the
doing a
pod.
like you're doing a sidestep in a rugby match. Like
Mm,
you're shimmying from side to side, and you're keeping that movement and that distribution of weight under control, so it doesn't get away from you, so you don't
yeah.
start to panic.
Mm,
When it comes to speed on the flats, look, this is an ultra marathon. I really don't think that you need to worry too much about how fast you're running on those flats, as long as you are running and maintaining a pace. You had some things happen to you in this race, like going off course.
Three
first
times.
time, going off course the first time, getting stuck behind the cows, then having two more times going off course for a considerable amount of time because you
Mm,
kind of lost your head a little bit because of the
yeah.
cows, and then your lack of confidence on the downhills, bleeding a bit of time there. If you add all that up, you ain't going to make a huge amount of difference running a little bit faster on the flats. But what you are
No.
going to do, pushing yourself a bit harder on those flats, is use up more energy that you'll need later in the race.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like, it's not running faster because I'm running faster and putting a lot of energy into running faster, but having a faster, comfortable pace.
Yeah, and that comes with time and training. You can't
Yeah.
force that. We're working on that, and we will always be working on that. Your
Mm,
comfortable pace will improve over time, but on a race of this size, you don't want to be running particularly fast. You just want to be able to
agree.
do
I just
all
want to
the
be able to get downhill
all the
and not
tiny
get stuck
things, do a
behind
little bit
cows.
faster so they add up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All those little things, you add them up and they create a big problem.
But yeah, those are the two things that I'd like to most concentrate on in the next year is my technique, and I'll do that because there's plenty of hills around where I live, so I can on weekly runs on my runs during the week. Sorry, I can spend a little bit of time, just choose a hill and then just go up and down it. Just
Yeah,
keep going up and down the motherfucking hill.
practice is key. It
Mm,
really is when it comes to descending. And it's something that I was when I went and did that 21K run in the Mont d'Or on the trails, I was practicing what David had said to me, which was the short strides, keeping your feet under yourself and doing like a sideways shimmy. And it was really working, and I was really getting to the grips of it during
mm.
that run. So go out, find some technical trails, go down them, go down them, go down them, go down them, go down them a bit faster, and build up that level of confidence. And maybe every now and again you fall over, but when you do fall over, try and roll with it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I've done a lot of running, but I've never practiced going downhill. I've just run downhill because I've been out on a run. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've never taken the time in a Sunday long run when I'm out for a couple of hours or whatever. If I come to a nice juicy little hill, just go, oh, okay, I'm just going to practice my downhills on this for 10 minutes and then continue on with my run. I've never ever done that. So I think I might start doing that in my on my Sunday long runs when I've got a bit of time to play around with and I'm not worrying about pace, or because like my Sunday long runs are never about pace or anything like that. They're just going out and running around and having a little bit of fun on the hills. So yeah, I'm going to practice my hills.
Yeah, I mean, you do hill repeats, don't you, in the week, once a week, maybe once every other week. So that is also a good time to practice descending because
Yeah.
you're going up a hill, and instead of just walking down or gently jogging, you could think about how you're getting down that hill each time.
Mm,
Take a bit more time and really
yeah.
try and get your head around it.
But yeah, they're the two main things I'd like to focus on next year, as well as cranking out 2 ultras next year instead of just the one.
And this is the thing you can do when you've had a setback like this. Instead of focusing on all the things that you should have done or could have done in that race, draw out the things you want to improve and think about how you're going to apply that improvement to your training
Mm,
so that it will benefit the races to come. So you're not stuck in the past, but you're thinking about how to use that experience to move forward and become a better athlete.
love it. That was a massive pause. Edit that out.
Jimmy long pause. So do you want to talk about next year's race calendar?
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be really, really nice because we found some really cool ones to do next year. I think
At
six
the
events.
moment, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 events with 7 individual races tucked away within these 6 events.
Yes. So the first one is going to be at the beginning of March, which is the local one near to me. It's the what is it even in French?
The Chasselet Trail des Carbonis.
That's it, Trail de Carboni. And I've
Trail
done
de
that before.
Carboni.
I did that not last year. I did it the year before. I did the half marathon on the Sunday. And it's a really, really, really lovely route through the Mont d'Or. They change it every year, so you can't ever kind of repeat what you did like the year before because they change it every year. So I think that's really cool. But what they also do is, if you want to, you can do the weekend event. So on the Saturday you run 12K, and then on the Sunday you can run a marathon. And I thought that would be a really fun thing to do.
Yeah, that's a good year starter. That is. I love that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of doing one race, doing what you need to do that evening to recover, recharge, replenish, and then going out and do a longer trail race the next day. I'm quite
Mm.
excited by the idea of that.
Yeah, so that's going to be a really, really cool way to start the year, I think. And it's close to, it's just next door, and I think that'll be really, really cool. And that's in March, so there's plenty of time to work on my hill techniques, and plenty of time to work on my pace and my general fitness.
Indeedly doodly. And then we're going to bounce into mid May and a tilt at the Bristol Half Marathon. This is going to be
Hmm.
where my focus lies for the first half of the year because for me, I want to go and prove that I can still run fast.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I think the Chasselet weekend, we will probably run our own races at that one as well.
Probably, yeah.
So, the Bristol Half Marathon, we'll very much be running our own races. You'll be
Yeah.
going for a personal best. You'll be looking for a sub 150
Hmm.
and I will be going for a personal best and looking for a sub 130 if I can manage that.
Nice.
Yes.
Very nice.
I'm going to be putting a lot of focus in the next few months into trying to refine that comfortable pace, whilst also refining the ability to go fast, having gone through this
Mm.
injury. It's very much brought into sharp focus how lucky I am to be able to do the training I do, and therefore
Yeah.
not just be able to really, really put some energy into it and go fast again. That's my plan.
Mm. And then the next one, we've got a big one that it'll be the first of our ultras for that year, which is in June.
June, yeah, we're
And
looking at the
it's
Trail des Volcans.
Trail de Volcan.
Trail de Volcan.
Yeah,
There you
which is
go.
gonna be amazing. That's a 75K, I think.
It is. It's 75 kilometers along the volcanic ridges, the now dormant volcanic ridges, in the Massif
Massive
Central,
Central.
and
Yeah.
I am so game for that because the
Yeah.
scenery looks amazing. The race looks beautiful. 75 kilometers is manageable, and I think we'll probably do that one as a team. No.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be nice to do as a team because it'll be an unfamiliar route, but it'll be a gorgeous route. So it'll be quite nice to share those spectacular views with somebody else. So I'm really excited about that one. I think that'd be a really nice midpoint for the year. That
It
75K.
it will indeed. And then we're going to bounce to probably my most anticipated race of next year. And I'm stoked for it, which is
Hmm.
a 40-kilometer race in the Alps called the Oisson Trail Tour.
The Wazon Trail Tour. Yeah, yeah,
Oisson Trail Tour. And it's got 2,500 meters of elevation over 40 kilometers. It's in the Alps. It's near Alpe d'Huez. It's going to be stunning. And I think that's where I'm going to hang my hat for next year, that race.
yeah. It's gonna be. I mean, 2,000 meters in 40K. It's spicy.
It is spicy, and it's not going to be a gentle gradient type climbing, is it? You're either going to be going up or you're going to be going down.
Yeah.
And I think the scenery will just be spectacular. For
Oh, it's
me,
going to be gorgeous.
the happiest place I ever am is when I'm in the mountains in the summer.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be brutally hot, I think. Because when is that one? August?
July,
July.
20th of
Yeah.
July.
Okay, it's going to be toasty toast, but yeah, it's going to be magnificent. And then I'm going to crank out the Nuit de Caborne race again in
We're going to crank
September.
it out.
We're going to crank it out, but instead of doing the 10K, we're going to crank out the 20K because by then 20K will be like, what? So easy.
And are we going to do that together or separately?
See how we feel on the day, maybe.
Okie
Yeah.
dokie. I think I might need some company for that one because running at night scares me. I've got a
Yeah.
PTSD, having broken
Yeah.
my ankle, and running at night is a
Yeah.
fear of mine.
No, I think that's a really nice one to do as a team because it's a Friday night. It's a training run, but you just so happen to be doing it as part of an event. So I think that'd be
And
quite
it's like
nice
a
to do as a
festival.
team. It's Saint-Romain really pulls out all the fucking stops for that race. It was so cool in September to do that. I was so pleased that I did that one. It was such good fun. And the only thing that was a little bit of a shame was I didn't know anyone. Like I've got students who live there, but they're quite young. And by the time I'd finished, because I was slow, they'd all gone home obviously because it was 11:30 and it was bedtime for them. So there was nobody to kind of go yay with at the end. So I just kind of went, oh, it's finished, and then just kind of wandered off home on my own, and it was a
I
little bit
think I
kind of
walked you home, didn't I,
anticlimactic.
on the phone?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Called you up so I had somebody to gabble at. But yeah, so it would be cool to do that as a team. That would be fun
And then the
in
last
September.
race of the year is going to be a return to the UTBV 80
Yes.
kilometer ultra marathon, which
Revenge
we
match.
are going to do as a team and we
Yes.
are going to finish together.
Yes. Finish. Finish that race. Yes.
Absolutely. And what we're going to do is we are going to put a plan in place where we know what pace we need to run to get to those cutoffs in good time to have a change your bag, have a drink, have a moment to compose yourself and then get on. What we
Yeah.
don't want to be doing is running into those aid stations with a couple of minutes to go before we have to be out again so that you don't have time to compose yourself and you always feel like chasing the race. So
Yeah.
we're going to run a pace that gets us there to have a moment, and then we are going to keep ahead of the curve all day. And
Yes.
you're training for descending, and you're training for um, being able to run at that consistent pace. Your fitness will have improved by then, your strength will have improved by then, your robustness will have improved by then, and your ability to go downhill. So
Yeah,
it's
and I think if I will have already done like that marathon in the Alps and the ultra marathon across the volcanoes, it will be in my legs by then. Because I think that was the other thing. Like the Mont d'Or are amazing and it's very, very hilly and there's amazing trails to run and you can rack up some good elevation if you're out on a long run. But it's not the fucking Beaujolais. The Beaujolais will always bite you on the ass. But I think if I will have done the Volcano Ultra and the Alps Marathon, by the time we get to the Beaujolais, it'd be like, can totally do this. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of the time that you lose is those descents.
Yeah.
The uphills. A lot of people are going up those uphills at the same rate. All those
Mm,
people that are going up the uphills at the same rate as you are descending a lot quicker.
yeah.
And that's where they are putting those gaps in and you're not seeing them again.
Hmm.
So we'll work on those downhills, eh?
Yeah, totally. But as I was saying to the two ladies at Sports in the Park today, it was a fabulous day. It really was a fabulous day. And I am so privileged to be able to do races like that, to do those kind of events, to have the health and fitness that I've got to be able to enter in the first place and get myself to the start line. And everybody who works there, all of the volunteers are just totally adorable, even when they're telling you to your face quite slowly so that you understand that you can't finish. They are so kind, all of them. And it was a fucking glorious day. So I feel very lucky, very privileged to have had that experience, even though I DNF'd. But that's not the important thing. The important thing was I was out there for the whole day with amazing people in amazing countryside, and it was fucking awesome.
Whereas I was stressed to bollocks the whole day. And then waiting at the top of that slope for you, knowing you've been DNF'd, and with the little Bonneville, but Benevol guy tapping me on the
Whenever.
shoulder and saying, I think you should probably tell her. So, fuck's sake, mate.
was that was quite cruel.
You
And also I didn't believe you.
didn't believe me, no.
Didn't
No, but
believe
it
you.
was,
Yeah.
it is an amazingly well organized race with friendly
Mm.
people, welcoming people. I was stressed all day because I knew that you were fighting. I knew from that first cut off that you were fighting a fight. And
Yeah.
I started to see that fight slipping away from you. So it was grating on me. But I made some good friends as I went around the course with the Benevols, some of which spoke English, some of which we just communicated through my iPhone. But
Nice.
we had a good old merry old time anyway.
Yeah. It was really funny. I think I might have told you this already, but it was so funny because Like, even though I was actually out there for 10 hours that day, because when I realized that the cutoffs were really strict, and you it wasn't about getting to the aid station at the time. You had to be the pin in your bib had to be electronically marked as leaving the aid station at that time, which I didn't realize before I got to that first aid station. I've totally lost my train of
You
thought.
were
My
out
mind's
despite
gone.
despite you being out there for 10 hours all day.
Oh
The
yeah,
cutoffs
yeah, yeah,
were
yeah. So because I realized after that first aid station that the cutoffs were super strict, and that they were in certain blocks. Like the first three aid stations were in 2 hour blocks. And then the next one was like however many hours. Anyway, my point is the day went really fucking quickly. It did not feel like I was out there for 10 hours and 56K because like the time was going really, really quickly, but the distance was going very, very slowly. It's weird.
yeah.
It was weird.
I know what that feels like. I know what that
Yeah.
feels like.
It's
Time is flying,
mental.
distance is not. And but you did a really good job anyway. I was very proud of you. And I
Thanks.
think the most important message anybody can get from this podcast, if anything, is that setbacks are not there to derail you or stop you in your tracks. They're simply there to provide a lesson and things that you can take moving
Yeah.
forward to plan a more positive response going forward, because that's all we need. All we need, whether you finish or whether you don't, you've got to draw lessons from that race.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think just getting to the start line, like we were saying to or like you said to Zoe a few weeks ago, getting to the start line of any event is a massive achievement on its own. And then doing the races is something else. But yeah, I think being able to it will take some time, especially if you've been training for something very, very specific, something that's quite close to your heart, or something that's taken you a long time to get to, or whatever. I can understand that not finishing will be a massive blow, because it is, and I quite happily, no, that's weird, quite openly wept on Saturday when I realized that actually, no, I couldn't finish. And the guy was like, no, 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 it's finished for you. His English was brutal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just burst into tears because, it was very emotional. And I am not a cryy kind of person. So, to cry in public just goes to show how devastating something like that can be. But, it passes,
This
which is
too
cool.
shall pass, eh?
And it's not the end of the world. It does really feel like it on the day, but it's not. You get through it and it's fine. And you know, it's fine.
So now that we've got all that out the way, let's get to
Yeah.
the most important part of the interview.
Okay.
This is where I ask you to add a song to the Get Out in It playlist, something you train to or inspired by or generally enjoy.
All right. Well, I've gone old school. I'm Gen Xing this motherfucker all over the place. I've gone super old school, way back to 2001, man.
Oof.
Oh, that's
Oof.
so far away.
Before we met,
Yeah.
that far away.
That far away. That far away. It is. I'm going to put in a song from Missy Elliott because this is a fun track to run to. Get your freak on.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't
Do
realize
you,
Missy Elliott was a thing back then. I thought she was a new thing. You're not a new
no,
thing. She's an old thing, is she?
no.
Ah,
She's early noughties,
not
mate.
someone I've ever really listened to.
No, it's a great track.
Oh, it's Billie Eilish. I'm thinking of. She's the new one.
I don't know who that is.
No, no, fine. We're
Elliot.
really, really dating ourselves here.
Yeah.
So that'll be your song for the week. We will add
Yes.
that to the playlist. And thank you very much for taking the time to come and join us, Maria Herring. If people want to find you on the internet and find out more about you, where do they look?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, they can go to Insta and check out, Get Out in It because I'm on that. But I've also got my own Insta, which is Mia Pink Geek. So there's that. I've also randomly got a website, but it's got nothing to do with sports. So, if you want to look at my website, which is all about books and science fiction and fantasy, and nothing to do with sports, you can go to mariaherring.com. But that's about it.
And
Oh, I think I'm on Facebook as well, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
I have put a link to your Instagram in the show notes for this week. So anybody who wants to find out more about Maria Herring can go there.
Nice. Well, thank you for having me on. It's been a real honor to talk to you.
Real pleasure. Take care. Cheerio.
Bye bye. The debrief.
The emphasis was correct, I feel.
Okay.
So, what did you think of that chat, Maria Herring?
That was fascinating. Core, what an amazing young lady. She's just achieved so many things. I love her.
She is quite the inspirational human. So, yes, it was. I know. I just think, honestly, I think it's important not only to, firstly, when you're DNF, you've got to get yourself out of there and you've got to allow yourself a time to be miserable because everyone's miserable when they don't finish the race. And not beat yourself up for that, but go and eat the ice cream, go and lounge around, watch a film, do whatever you need to do, spread Speckaloos paste on other things and eat it because that's what we did.
We did. We ate so much Speckaloos.
I had an ice cream bucket with a jar of Speckaloos there and a jar of chocolate spread there, and I was alternating between ice cream Speckaloos, ice cream chocolate spread, ice cream.
And you didn't even run an ultra marathon.
I didn't, did I? I was just basking in your miserableness.
Yeah, I was eating salty pretzels dipped in Speckaloos. Oof. That was fucking lush.
I bet it was.
Fucking love Speckaloos. It's amazing.
But yeah, allow yourself that time. Yeah. And then once you're post that initial low, don't run the race around in your head, but think about how to move forward, process it, talk to your coach, talk to people around you, and think about what you're going to do moving forward, how to plan a way out of it, how to plan the next year ahead so that you've got goals and things to look forward to. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do.
Definitely. I think for me, it was the planning of the following year and having other races to look forward to instead of just looking back on the race I'd just done, which really helped pull me through the doldrums that I was in for about 30 hours and then got out quite quickly because I was like, oh, it's fine. The world is still turning. Nothing bad happened.
Indeedly doodly. I think sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think we really need to do a massive debrief because we basically just.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
The convo.
I was just going to say, I think that guest was particularly articulate and very good at getting across how she felt and how she wants to move forward. Well done.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers. Shall we forget about it and go and have a coffee?
Yeah, it sounds like a plan, doesn't it?
The weekly roast. Is that it? It does. I think it's my shout.
It's so your fucking round. It's been your round for weeks, and I've just been providing coffee after coffee.
I know, but in my defense, I have been preparing. I had been preparing. Fucking hell, get your verb tenses right, love. For an ultra. So, but I did find one because for your last weekend in Lyon, you and I actually spent a couple of days in the city center of Lyon. Before we went out for our lovely, before we went out for that lovely hike in the Parc Naturel du Pilat on the Sunday. And then it turns out that if you do go mooching around Lyon, there's fuck tons of coffee roasters in Lyon. So I found one which wasn't too far from where we were staying. We were staying in Vieux-Lyon, which is the old town. But there's a coffee roasters in the Premier Arrondissement, which is the main city center, and it's called Placid Coffee Roasters.
Oh,
and they've got a cafe, and they've also got
chilled.
Yeah, they got a cafe in the first arrondissement, and their roastery is in Vénissieux. So it's all local, which is really, really cool. And it's all the stuff that you like. You know, they're super into their ethical coffee. So they make sure that everything is sourced from local small producers and that they pay them fair money for their coffee beans and everything like that. It's all eco-friendly. It's all the things that you really, really dig. So
Right
I
up
thought
my
you'd
street
like
then,
that.
this one.
Right up your back alley.
And it does taste very nice, doesn't it?
Well, I haven't even told you the one I've picked yet. It's the Don Eli Anfiteatro from Costa Rica.
Oh, that sounds all right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does sound all right. And Don Eli is the name of the farmer who is it a farmer who grows coffee, or do they have like a special coffee farmer name? I'm not too sure. But anyway, so Don Eli is the guy who grows it with his two sons. And Anfiteatro is the part of his farm is the part of his farm where he grows it. He's named it Anfiteatro, and then he's got another part of the farm which he's named something else, which I can't remember. And basically, it's like they've kind of cut these terraces into the hills, and they grow their coffee beans on these terraces. And it's a dad and his sons. It's a family thing, and it's beautiful. But I picked this one because it's got flavors of, ready for this, honey, toffee, flowers, and fruit juice.
Just flowers.
It just says floral.
Flowers.
Floral.
Just general flowers.
Yeah.
All right.
Miel, toffee, floral. And then another word I've just forgotten. But yeah.
Sounds good and tastes good. And everyone loves an ethical, sustainable coffee roaster.
Do love our ethical, sustainable coffee roasters.
This conversation is really putting me in the mood for a nice coffee in a minute.
Yeah, I'm desperate for coffee. Yeah.
So while we sit and sup, shall we be honest?
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. You've done quite a bit being honest. What else have you
I don't think I need to be honest about anything else. I think I've said all that needs to be said about me. I am really excited to get back to my training. And everything else we covered quite deeply in the main convo. So yeah, my let's be honest is done. Do you have one? You must have one.
Well, I mean, I think I've struggled this week a bit with the training because of the travel day I had on Tuesday. I haven't really launched back into it quite yet. I will be going for a run tomorrow and probably a run on Sunday, which I know that is against my coaching philosophy, which is back ending your week a little bit, but I'm going to do a double run on this weekend. And then I'm going to push into next week quite hard. So my honest, I mean, everything's going in the right direction. It's all moving in the right direction. Everything's very positive at the moment. So there isn't anything I'm particularly worried about. And I think there is always a fear of re-injury, but I think with Daisy's help, I'm going up through the gears on the strength and conditioning and really going to start putting some load down through that hip now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
So life is good on that front.
That's quite short, let's be honest, this week.
I don't think either of us have got any particular issues at the moment, have we?
No. I'm feeling very chipper. I think it is because I have got the half-term holidays beckoning me towards them with their siren song of, fat mornings and late nights and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm feeling quite chipper. Yeah.
Fat mornings and late nights. What does that mean? Fat mornings,
no. Grasse matinée in French, which means fat morning. So like sleep-ins, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And what is a late night? Like just staying up late?
Yeah, I mean, I don't generally stay up late because I tend to just shut down around about 11 o'clock. So my late nights is going to be like 11:15. But it's the knowing that I don't have to be up early the next morning, which is quite exciting. So indeed. I think, maybe I can do some, I don't know if I can do extra training next week. No, probably not.
We'll see. Probably not. No, okay. No. Should we put some music on and forget about it?
Turn it up.
That'll probably do, won't it?
Yeah. Well, you can put some music on and forget about it because I've already done my track for today.
Yeah, you've done yours, haven't you? So
It's
this
gone.
week I am putting a song called World on Fire on there.
Ooh.
Off the album World on Fire by Slash, featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, which is a 2014 album. And I particularly like this song. It's a song that's the first track on the album. It also has the title of the album in the name, and it is brilliant. It's very energetic.
Slash as in Guns N' Roses Slash.
Yeah, as in Guns N' Roses Slash.
With
Yeah.
hat and curly hair Slash.
That's the man. That's the badger.
The Badger.
That's
Miles
the badger.
Kennedy. Miles Kennedy, is he the singer who sounds extraordinarily similar to Axl Rose?
Yes, he's also the lead singer of Alter Bridge.
Okay, yes. Oh, that's going to be a good track then.
It's a very, very good track. Yeah, I think I sent it to you years ago.
Okay.
So I'll
World
add
on
that
Fire.
to the playlist. It's a fantastic song from a very, very good album with lots of other good tracks sprinkled through it.
Nice. Nice, nice, nice. That was a very, very, for me, cathartic episode. Thanks for that.
Yeah, good. I think it's very important to not just wallow in these things, but to process them properly and plan for the future. So I think that's probably about it from us, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Post-mortem episode. Love it.
You know what I'm looking forward to?
Cup of coffee, slice of cake, speculoos on toast.
I'm looking forward to editing this podcast because I'm going to wait between this recording stopping and my new laptop arriving, and I'm going to edit it on my new laptop. It's going to be fast and shiny and smooth.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yes. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be fun. But in the meantime, if you want to find out more, head to www.getoutinit.events. There's loads of info on there, and you can sign up for the newsletter, download the personal development friend, and book a free consultation with us to discuss your health and fitness, your needs, your desires.
Not your disease. We're not doctors.
And a roadmap to get you where you want to be. If you like the podcast, go and leave a review on Apple iTunes, because it really helps us out and helps that algorithm shine.
And feel free to point out all of the speaking mistakes that James makes throughout the recording of these podcasts.
Few and far between. Few and far between. But yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for listening to all of my my nonsense. Thanks, guys.
Cheerio.
Catch you later.
Thanks for hitting the trails with us this week. We'll meet you back here next Monday for more news, more views, more nature.
All the links for our socials are in the show notes. Find and follow us on Facebook, Insta, YouTube and Twitter. You can subscribe to our newsletter from our website for all the latest updates and camp plans. You get a fun free gift when you sign up.
Leave a review on your podcast app. It's really easy and really helps us out.
And if you've got any friends who could do with getting out in it, then bring them along to next week's outdoor adventure. We'd love to have you all with us.
Catch you next week. Cheerio.